All right, Todd, if you're the San Diego Chargers, I'm assuming they stay at 18.
Right.
Where do they go, in your opinion?
Well, defensive front seven, they have needs there, you know, and I think this year you really want to take advantage of some of these defensive linemen and pass rushers, and one of those two. I mean, Akeem Ayers is a good fit coming out of UCLA. He played defensive end, but has also dropped a lot in coverage and understands what it takes. Justin Houston, the Georgia defensive end outside linebacker, would be a good fit. Then you also have a bunch of guys that we don't normally see, who are the 5 techniques, guys who play inside in the 3-4 and can take on blockers. I think Muhammad Wilkinson from Temple is a really underrated player. J.J. Watt will probably be off the board at that point. Cameron Jordan out of Cal is another one. So it's 3 guys that can play that defensive end spot, and they're tough to find sometimes because you're typically asking a defensive tackle to move. But the nice part with all 3 of these guys, especially Jordan and Wilkinson, is that they have experience playing inside, so it's not completely foreign to them.
Okay, now speaking of Cameron Jordan, he's a guy that you raved about after the Senior Bowl. This is a guy who really helped his status rose to maybe a top 10 pick. What did you see about him? What did you like about him so much?
I think you like to see a guy that obviously can do things versus the run, but also can get after the quarterback. And it's so important to rush the passer. Now the question I have is he strong enough to be an every down inside player in the 3-4 scheme? Maybe he winds up being a better fit in the 4-3, even though he played one of the few guys who played in the 3-4 in the college level. But his swim move, his quickness, his relentlessness, I saw a player that can do more things than maybe we just saw in individual games on tape.
I think Buddy Nick said yesterday this is the deepest draft in years when it comes to the defensive end and linebacker. Fair assessment there?
Yes, I mean, defensive end's as good as I've seen probably in over, I guess, 11, 12 years of doing this. And the versatility of guys. You have, edge rushers. You have guys that can play left defensive end, guys that can play 5 technique in the 3-4. So there's a lot of different styles of player, and 8, 9 guys right now. I have 8 guys with a first-round grade, and then one guy, Cameron Hayward, who would be in that late first-round range, has had Tommy John surgery, so wondering about his durability a little bit, but still could wind up in the late first.
One more need for the Chargers is at safety. Now, is there a safety that can help a team right away and available at 18, or is this a weaker draft for safeties in that first round?
I don't see a safety that comes off the board that high. Okay. I think you go get him in the 2nd, 3rd round. DeAndre McDaniel from Clemson, Jaquan Jarrett from Temple as well. There's Ahmad Black, who's undersized but very instinctive, quick, good athlete. Raheem Moore from UCLA should be the first safety off the board. Maybe because there's no great players at that position, he winds up coming off the board late first, but I've got an early to mid 2nd round grade on Moore right now.
Okay, and one thing I want to ask you about from a local note, San Diego State wide receiver Vincent Brown. He was a guy that you and your partner in Mel Kiper, you guys raved about after the Senior Bowl. What stood out about him?
Caught everything. Vincent Brown, you watch him on tape, he's good catching the ball, he can get open, he can separate, he's quick. He doesn't have great top end speed, is adequate to good size, but the thing that stands out to me is that he showed up, played against better competition than he would see week in, week out in college, and he shined. I mean, he stepped up, and I was impressed with him separating, getting open, and just catching the ball in traffic. I don't think that there were more than 2 drops from him in 4 days of practice, where I guess the average of wide receiver for all those catches that they had to make during practices were probably around 8, 10, somewhere in that range. So he and Leonard Hankerson from Miami were the 2 best wide receivers in terms of catching the football. Okay, last thing I'll ask you about then, when you talk about the quarterbacks in this draft, 2 guys getting all the buzz for maybe the wrong reasons, Cam Newton and Ryan Mallett. Who needs to have a better interview process here at the Combine? Well, Cam
Newton, have tough questions to ask.
Ryan Mallett if Ryan Mallett needs to win over teams a little bit more than Cam Newton, because Cam Newton is blessed with more physical tools, and Cam Newton doesn't have some of the concerns that Ryan Mallett has, let's put it that way. So both need to interview well. Both need to show that they can be the leader of your team, can be a great teammate, and can be a face of an organization and handle what comes with all of the money and fame of being a starting NFL quarterback. That's what you have to get through when you sit down with your 15 minutes to talk to a guy, one of 60 guys that you evaluate as an NFL team. I'm certain of this. Teams that are legitimately looking at Cam Newton and Ryan Mallett it won't just be 15 minutes. It'll be the pro day, it will be private, individual workouts, flying them into the facility, getting to know them better. And sending out guys to follow them around and do everything else that NFL teams do to try to make sure that they're investing in something that's worthwhile long term.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.